Hi everyone, and welcome to this session. And I will welcome Leah and hand straight over to you. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm here today to talk to you about librarian activism toward decolonization on campus. I want to start with a rather lengthy land acknowledgement. So I prepared for this presentation and now give it from my office in the main library of Michigan State University. Our campus is located in what is called the Nakwajang by the Anishinaabe. Michigan State University occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe Three Fires Confederacy of Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi peoples. The university's campus resides on the traditional lands of the Saginaw Band of Chippewa, ceded under duress in the 1819 Treaty of Saginaw. Our university is supported through the Land Grant Act, where 10.7 million acres were taken from 245 tribal nations through the treaty system to fund and establish agricultural colleges. Our university was established on and with 235,193 acres of Anishinaabe land, ceded in the 1819 Treaty of Saginaw and the 1836 Treaty of Washington. Michigan State University recognizes, supports, and advocates for the sovereignty of Anishinaabe nations from the Great Lakes area, for historic Indigenous communities in Michigan, for Indigenous individuals and communities who live here now, and for those who were forcibly removed from their homelands. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work to hold ourselves more accountable to the needs of Indigenous peoples and to the creation of equitable and fair policies for years to come. So this I share with you. This is an updated land acknowledgement written actually by Native students on campus who are part of the American Indian and Indigenous Studies program and the Native American and Indigenous Student Organization, NASO, which I'll talk about a little bit more. Have been in a long-standing legal battle with university administration to get this language approved. It's not yet official on campus. There's a more watered down, bland version of our land acknowledgement is the one that kind of circulates and is available on our website. But we're hopeful, and they have said as early as this fall that this may be the replacement land acknowledgement. So also, even though our land acknowledgement is improving, it is important to find ways to go beyond just making an acknowledgement at the beginning of a presentation. So personally, I always commit to making a donation to our American Indian and Indigenous Studies program when I give the acknowledgement. That's the one way that I feel like I can pay back and put kind of my money where my mouth is. And then I also commit to sharing a link for anybody else who might be watching my presentation and feel like they would also like to donate. So to introduce myself, my name is Leah Morin. My pronouns are she, her. I am a kid mom and a dog mom and a sports mom. You will find me on the sidelines of the soccer field most days and nights. I am a runner and a reader, which is what got me to libraries, actually. I'm also call myself a weekend protester. As I'm sure you're aware, there's a lot of things in the US right now that is worthy of protesting. And I live very near the capital of my state, so I am there very often. I also came to librarianship a little bit later in life, and I feel like I appreciate it so much more because I worked in so many other situations that were not right for me. So I feel like I've really found my home in libraries. And one of the things that I'm going to talk to you more about with my learning community is when we introduce ourselves, we try to what we call remove our colonial jackets. So introducing ourselves by who we are outside of the standard kind of colonial hierarchies. So we don't use titles, we don't use our university roles. We try to talk about who we are as people and as community members, which is why I introduced myself this way today. So our land acknowledgement probably gave you a little bit of a glimpse into what it means to be a land grant university, but here's a little bit more context. So Michigan State University, we call ourselves the pioneer land grant institution. We really were the first to take advantage of the Morrill Act of 1862 which was provided federal funding to MSU in the form of land. And it was really meant to promote liberal and practical education for the industrial classes. So over time, that same funding source went out to at least one college or university in every state. But MSU was really known as the model that others followed. So that land grant mission, what it really means is that outside of our main campus, we also have extension offices throughout the state that are meant to educate, train, and serve the communities that aren't necessarily affiliated with MSU, but kind of take advantage of the outreach that we provide. So, and then what that mission looks like in the library is that we are not restricted for MSU affiliates. We are open to the general public and we loan to the public and we contribute to public lending throughout Michigan and beyond. So a better thing, a better way to refer to that land grant, though, is land grab, because expropriated Indigenous land is really the foundation of that land grant university system. Hundreds of violence-backed treaties and seizures extinguished Indigenous title to over 2 billion acres of the United States, and nearly 11 million of those were used to then launch these 52 land grant institutions. The money has been on the books ever since, obviously just exponentially growing from the very low price paid for the land to begin with. And in fact, as many as a dozen of these universities still generate revenue from the land. So they didn't sell it, they still lease it out and continue to generate money. Meanwhile, Indigenous people remain largely absent, either from our student population or being on our staff or faculty, or even part of the curriculum. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit more depth in a second, but I just want to talk about what a university learning community looks like on our campus. So these are run by the Office of Faculty and Academic Staff Development. Anybody can propose a topic in a year, and as many as about 10 learning communities are usually approved. They get a budget of like $500 to do things like buy lunch when you have your meetings, or do project work, or go on field trips, whatever you want to do. The formats are like very flexible, how often you want to meet, if you want to meet in person or virtually or whatever. But the intention of the learning community is to provide safe and supportive spaces for complicated conversations about curriculum and pedagogy and leadership and administration issues, kind of outside the bounds of that administrative oversight. So the learning community that I've been a part of is called Decolonize the University, and it was started by some members of the College of Social Sciences, Sarah Pryor and Dustin Petty. Sarah Pryor is she's not a tenure track faculty, she's an academic specialist, so she's a teaching faculty member. And then Dustin Petty actually does academic advising in the School of Social Work. And they really wanted to look at the application of decolonization theory, especially in the context of that land grant mission and history. We also wanted to have like a practical aspect of replacing kind of colonial structures with practices that instead encourage success and whole person development of students, faculty, and staff. And some of the learning communities on campus kind of last for 1 year. We've actually just wrapped up our 3rd year. So we've had kind of a successful run of people staying committed to this community. So things that the learning community has done. So we really got started our 1st year with having discussions around a specific topic, or reading, really starting at the very beginning. What does it mean to what is this decolonization theory? What does that even mean? What does it mean to decolonize yourself? We also invited a lot of speakers from around campus. We had the director of the Native American Institute come. We had some members of NASO, the Native American and Indigenous Student Organization. They came and spoke with us, which was amazing. It's always great when you can invite students and give them a platform to speak. We also just dedicated all of our LC funds to that student organization. And the reason that we did that, I just want to give you a little bit of background. Their work with the land acknowledgement came out of their desire to place a plaque on campus that talked about that the land grant in terms of the land grab. And so they have been in talks with the university to get that language finally approved and to get that plaque placement approved. There's actually a green space on campus. It's right across the river from the library that was a Native American encampment at the time that the Morrill Act granted the land to the university, and the Native Americans were forcibly removed from that space. So that is the place that they want to put this this plaque that gives some of that background. And when I mentioned this recently to one of my colleagues, they had no idea that that was the history of that place, that green space on campus. So it really is a sacred space. Anyway, so they finally got the approval to put the plaque there, and they finally got the language finalized. This has been years in the works. But the organization has to pay for it themselves. And not just the plaque, they also have to pay our university's facilities team to kind of dig up the area, place the plaque, fix the surrounding landscaping around it. So they estimate it's going to cost something like $6,000 to $10,000 to do this work. And they're just a student organization, so it's hard for them to raise the funds for this. So one way that we've been able to help, I think, is by donating our LC funds, but then also just trying to talk about this this project that they have been working on. Anyway, and then we've also just kind of investigated ways in our own work that we can decolonize our syllabi, which of course I don't have. I am a teaching librarian, but I don't have a 4-credit class. I teach in the one-shot model, so I don't really have a syllabus. But I've really appreciated the conversations around just incorporating diverse voices, which is one of the ways of decolonizing your syllabus. But then doing it in your classroom or with your pedagogy. And then, as I said earlier, Dustin is an academic advisor, so he was really interested in looking at it in his advising practices. And then one thing that we did was presented this widely to the university teaching and learning faculty. And I'm just going to open up our slides here really quick because I think they're kind of cool. These are leftover from when Jamboard was a thing. So now it's just a PDF. You can't actually access the Jamboard anymore. But we kind of talked about things like I've mentioned, the land acknowledging. We talked about the history of the land grab. We talked about the ways that you can define colonization, settler colonialism, and why it's important to kind of do this work. And then I just wanted to point out too that we had a nice conversation where we introduced ourselves. Let me see if I can find that slide. Maybe I can't right now. No, it's here somewhere. And I've got this link available if anybody wanted to look at these more closely, but where we all introduced ourselves by removing those colonial jackets. Let's see. Okay. Go back. Oops. All right. So what I wanted to think about, though, specifically was what could my role as the librarian in this learning community look like? What can the librarian especially do? I was the only one on the learning community. Most folks were, teaching faculty or academic specialists. We did have some graduate students. We actually had somebody from the counseling office. But what can the librarian contribute? And my mind, of course, went straight to create a LibGuide. And I just want to show you this LibGuide real quick because we did decide in the learning community, once I kind of put the bare bones of this together, to use it as the kind of repository of everything that we were talking about and doing. And when I first was a part of this learning community, I was kind of like underemployed. I was an adjunct in the library. I was an adjunct for 5 years before I actually got hired in like a full-time tenure track position. I know that kind of is how it goes in academic libraries sometimes. But I had a little bit of job precarity as an adjunct, and I had a little bit of trepidation about just creating a guide about a topic that was something kind of outside of my library work. So I asked my boss, how do I get a topic for a guide approved? And it turns out um, we don't actually like police guide creation or use. So I just had to kind of like be brave about it and do it. And that has kind of become my mantra, I think, for a lot of things I do, especially in the classroom. It's like just be brave and say the thing that you want to say and do the thing you want to do, put it out there. And, you know, um, knock on wood, I haven't suffered too many consequences yet. But anyway, so the guide really was a good way, I think, just of organizing our thoughts around things like land acknowledgement. And I was able to put a lot of good information here about from people much more wise than me about ways that we can go beyond just saying the acknowledgement, just giving, the words to it, like actually making a difference. And then we had the practical resources here. There's a syllabus challenge you can take to think about how you can do this decolonizing work in your syllabus. One of our colleagues wrote this really wonderful questions for self-reflection about your own personal ideology, about how you assess your students, about how you teach your classes to kind of get you thinking about this in your own classroom. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a lit guide without recommended books, without some articles to read, some media. I really cared about including how to um, properly and respectfully cite elders and indigenous knowledge in the various styles. And then also point to other guides. I borrowed a lot of good information from these guides too, so I wanted to make sure to attribute back to them too. But so probably the LibGuide was my number one way of kind of contributing to this work. But another thing I could do, of course, is add books to the collection. Now, I'm not actually a selector. They don't give me a budget. I have a very small liaison area, so I don't have my own collection budget, but I could advocate for the purchase of books and work with selectors in relevant areas. So this came about sometimes because we would do a reading or have a conversation, and then I'd realize we didn't have that book in our collection, which was a huge lack. And so I would advocate for the purchase of this book. Another thing that I found was that maybe we had the book in our collection, but it was relegated to our special collection. So it didn't circulate. And it was actually, there were some barriers to being able to actually view that book because, I had to make an appointment with special collection. So I advocated for purchasing additional copies that could be main part of the circulating collection. And then also the cataloging is important. And I'm not a cataloger, but I really appreciated the keynote today. If anybody was listening to that, talking about how things come in with these Library of Congress headings or this copy cataloging that you're meant to do. And one thing that specifically happens with Indigenous authors is that even if the author is a modern person talking about modern issues, talking about Indigenous science or political science or social issues, it often comes in with a Library of Congress heading that's related to history, right? And I realized this when somebody had looked up a book for me in our purchasing acquisition system, and they told me, "Oh, your selector for this is the history librarian." And I was like, "What do you mean? This is an Australian Indigenous author, and they just wrote this book, and it's available now. It's brand new, and it's only about modern issues. Why is this, cataloged in history?" So anyway, thinking kind of critically about how to get that discoverable and on the right shelf where it belongs. The other thing, of course, you can do is a book display. So I created this display for Indigenous Peoples Day, which in the US is what many of us have decided to call Columbus Day, even though our current president has said that we will all have to go back to calling it Columbus Day. But of course, we're not going to do that. But so during the week that began with Indigenous Peoples Day, I had this display out, and I, through doing my research for what I wanted to display, I found some other things that I wanted to purchase, some comics, some young adult some children's books, and was able to put this display together. And a lot of people did check these books out. So I thought that was really great. And then, of course, the other thing I can do is just incorporate all the ideas I'm learning in my own work. So I am a teaching librarian. I already was really invested in kind of breaking down the barriers between like the teacher and the student and respecting the knowledge that students come with already. But all of this work really just helped me to kind of solidify that as a concept. So what knowledge seeking habits do students already have? And how can I respect and honor those? And then that goes, of course, with reference work as well and one-on-one consultations with students. Also in unit meetings, I just tried to bring back my own learnings to talk about it with the people in my unit, which is a teaching unit. And then also in sustainability work. So right now my library is going through the Sustainable Libraries Initiative certification process, and I'm on the task force for that. And one thing that just gets plugged in all the time is this language about the land grant and the land grant mission, which I agree that the land grant mission, as we think about it today, is worthy, but I don't want to just blanket put that language out there without the original context of about where it came from. So I feel like my knowledge about that history helps me to be just more transparent and, talk about that context rather than just kind of stamping that on everything that we do. And then the other thing that I just really started thinking about, and honestly, putting this presentation together made me think about it too, was that, maybe kind of like justifying my role is kind of a leftover of colonialism and capitalism and imposter syndrome. Like, why do I feel the need to justify all of the things that I did to be in this learning community? Like, just my body in a seat and my own thoughts and my own ideas contributing to the conversation is enough. And so, I strive to be like as anti-perfectionist as possible. And one thing that I feel like I brought to the learning community just in my own kind of like work is thinking about rest as resistance and seeking joy and seeking art and seeking all of these things as a matter of resistance. That is something that I bring just from my own personal self, and that can be enough too. And then also to think about starting with myself and kind of thinking about the ways that I, you know, embody that colonialism myself. And I wanted to share the scholar Michael Sang sought to answer the question about decolonizing ourselves and proposed main guiding actions of acting, reflecting, and learning. And he even said the important thing is to build solidarities and communicate with each other as much and as truthfully as possible. And so even just participating in the learning community and being that body in a chair, I think is probably enough. Even without making a LibGuide, even without making a book display, even without buying books for the collection, like just being myself and being in that community is enough. So that's how I wanted to end this. And with a picture of me seeking joy and rest, even though if you've ever taken a vacation with little kids, you know that it's only as joyful and restful as it can be. But and then I've got on my slides, if you wanted to access these, mostly I just wanted to point you to my LibGuide because all of the links are there. But then here's some other important things too that I wanted to share. And thank you. And I haven't been able to see anybody, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Leah. That was so interesting. And my familiarity with US colleges is largely through women's college gymnastics. So go Spartans. And we do have a few questions. I think for the non-Americans, those not familiar with your systems, could you just explain a little bit to us about tenure and how that works and what the benefits of it are?
Oh, gotcha. So at most of our universities, librarians are considered faculty, and the tenure process means that you have to commit to publishing, presenting, having a voice in your field, having serving on committees. So it's service and scholarship, and of course also just doing your actual job. So when you get on the tenure track, I'm new, I'm in my second year. So after 3 years, you apply for reappointment, and then after 6 years, you apply for actual tenure. So it's very similar to what the faculty are doing elsewhere in the university. Not quite as stressful because obviously they all got their PhDs as well, and they have a little bit of a higher bar um, for like having an international presence. So anyway, but yes, so I'm kind of involved in that process too. But when you are kind of on a more precarious track, because I just began as an adjunct, so I did the work, but I wasn't like moving towards the tenure process until I actually got hired in full time.
Good, thank you. We have someone asking about any advice for dealing with faculty who don't seem very eager to decolonize their curriculum, and that one of the responses is that they're unable to expand the tripos, I don't know what that word means, due to the current expertise of their teaching staff, and there's no incentive from students. So any thoughts about that?
Um, Not really. I work with the faculty who want to work with me, and I influence what I can and don't worry about the rest. I mean, um, we're also a quite large university, so I know there's fully very, very many who are not going to engage with this work at all. And, I'm sorry for their students, but hopefully they will have enough influence from their faculty and their librarians who do care about this work to have that differing perspective too. But we're not trying to necessarily change minds for people who are closed to it. People are kind of self-selecting into our sphere of influence here.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess probably the other question that would be on people's minds is about the current political climate and how you think your work, particularly around decolonization, will be affected by that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it did derail us a little bit this year. Honestly, more just with our own like kind of fatigue around things. Like um, everybody, especially people who, especially the wonderful staff who I work with in the College of Social Sciences, and they've got these large classrooms, and we know fully 50% of our students um, voted in a way that is really difficult for us to understand, I think, and identify with. And so, kind of walking this line with even student pushback to some of these ideas. I don't know. It is definitely a challenge, and we'll see going forward. Like kind of a lot of our energy is just putting out the immediate fires, right? Versus kind of thinking about the things that in kind of these big picture things that we see as an ultimate goal. Right now, we're kind of just all hands on deck handling. Like we just had to remove a bunch of language from our websites related to inclusive hiring practices, right? Because we're not allowed to say that stuff anymore. So we kind of have to deal with the immediate, and I'm so thankful that I had the years of this work kind of underpinning how I view things now, and I do fully believe that we'll get back there. But you're right that we're kind of on a hiatus from reaching our long-term bigger goals.
All right, thank you so much. I will echo everyone in the chat with saying a big thank you, and that's been really thought-provoking for everyone, and we appreciate you being with us today. We will wrap up the session there. So everybody, please join me in thanking Leah for her time today, and I will just stop the recording.